Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the iOS News Sunday Paper Program. Frayne is feigning the state police posse, while Netanyahu says no to Palestinian kibbutz. It was Yom Kippur. The Chinese go Hong Kong crazy, and the Scots say no to freedom. Have they gotten lazy? William Wallace's hearts are bleeding, I can tell you that. The Blade Runner's back competing for South Africa again, though no one really wants to be his girlfriend. And ISIS continues its march to Baghdad, playing heads up with its captives, making the whole world Bagdammit mad. While in sports it's Oktoberfest, except here in Philly. But the Eagles are 4-1, though the offense still looks fucking silly. These stories and more with Ron Morrow and his Mystic Minute, John Rice and his Gamer Updates. Darren Martinez will share some of his movie reviews and suggestions for Halloween approaching. And Rob Watkins gives us some entertainment news updates. These stories and more with tonight's edition of the I'm Only Serious News Network Sunday Paper Program.
It's the I'm Only Serious News Network with Dan Mahan, Rob Watkins, John Rice, Dave Morrow, and Darren Martinez.
The Pennsylvania State Police are still out trying to find the murderer, Eric Frayne, who shot two troopers, killing one of them. Now last week, two troopers were injured when they both had to climb up into a tree stand and look for him, and it gave way as they fell 20 feet down. Cracker, please. But now they're finding that they believe he's subsisting on tuna fish cans and ramen noodles. So if they don't catch him, the mercury in the fucking salt will. Give it time, fellas. No rush there. In Idaho, a missing woman was found in Mississippi. Apparently, this woman has long-term health problems. She was disoriented, and she ended up going to the Mississippi home where she grew up with her father back in the 1960s. They said she has long-term health problems and left her service dog at home. But she was able to make 3 cash withdrawals for fuel. Now, if you're disoriented and you have a service dog, who the fuck's letting you drive to begin with? That's my question. Oh, Lord. Speaking of wives, a mayor's wife in California, the once mayor of Bell Gardens, California, was questioned for hours about the murder of her husband, which she confessed to. Apparently he got in a fight with their son, who was about 19. They were fighting with each other, and the son, who was 19, intervened. And his wife, Livette, got a gun and shot her husband several times in the torso. Yet the investigation continues. Sounds like a pretty cut and dry one to me, folks. You know, what the fuck? It's not the first 48 episode we're looking at. In international news, China's been on the radar lately. First, you got the students in Hong Kong protesting about their lack of freedom in choosing their own leaders. I guess they're a little too young to remember Tiananmen Square. They ought to look it up on YouTube. It's not pretty, fellas. However, China's National Day, which is their biggest celebration, just was happening last week. But before it happened, they were going to release 10,000 doves. But before releasing the doves, they had to give them anal checks to make sure there was no explosives in them. Just watch what you feed them. That's what I say. You don't have to go picking around through the dookies. Also, Israel now is in a war of words with the Palestinians. Yeah, a lot less explosive. Even Benjamin Netanyahu, not tomorrow either. He went into the UN because the Palestinian leader, Abbas, had gone in and complained about Israel. And they actually tried to make amends by inviting him to a cookout. But it was Yom Kippur. He couldn't eat that day. Couldn't eat. And after centuries of being butchered, raped, and robbed of body and country, the people of Scotland finally had the chance to peacefully break free of the English yoke. only to vote to stay united. Now, granted, Alex Salmond, head of the Scottish National Party, is no William Wallace, folks. But how hard is it to inspire folks to be free? Although, turns out he wasn't granted estates in England after the vote. You know what I'm saying? Now that Scotland is resolved, the British Crown has set its sights on India, Canada, and Australia. And Hong Kong, too, maybe. To vote on whether they, too, would like to come back. And, by the way, them leaders will also get estates in Britain as well. South Africa's Oscar Pistorius, a.k.a. the Blade Runner, is back competing for their Olympic team once again. Although he's still waiting for final sentencing for the negligent killing of his former girlfriend, their Olympic committee thought it productive to allow him to compete in the local events. Now, that's where Roger Goodall needs to be a commissioner. I mean, there'd be no backflack there. And Russia had decided to try and make some geckos enjoy the 50-mile high club after they were sent into orbit so Russian scientists could study the effect of weightlessness of their sex lives before they died re-entering Earth's atmosphere. Problem was they sent 5 of them up. You know, the old third wheel. And apparently it opened the window and they all froze to death on the way down. Now only Russia would send 5, not 4 or 6. Actually, maybe Poland too. Right there with each other. And the British are upset now because in a new video that one of their aid workers was beheaded by the militant group ISIS, the extremists from Syria and Iraq, who, by the way, just reached the outskirts of Baghdad to the Abu Ghraib prison, where they all took selfies of themselves. They remember the good old days. And speaking of ISIS, Turkey has now approved to send troops into Syria and Iraq to fight them. Way to go, Turkey. In fact, they hope to free Baghdad by Thanksgiving. What's the chance of that? Turkey and Thanksgiving. And the Dalai Lama has now had hints that there may be a thaw in relations with China. China, as you know, rules Tibet. In fact, China considered saying, "Hello, Dolly," and letting him back in. That's for your old timers out there. Hello, Dolly. Next up for us is our very own Rob Watkins, as he gives a report on compulsive gambling sports guide. Should be interesting. Rob?
Thanks, Dan. Yes, my name's Rob Watkins. I am a compulsive gambler sports guy, and then I'm giving you an update for the week. I'm here after the Eagles won today 34-28, which means they didn't cover the point spread, which means I lost a bet to a bookie today, which means I'm probably not going to eat this week, and which means I'm going to go to Kensington all this week to try to make up for the money. That means if you're a male or female, come see me and we'll figure something out. I can get a lot of work done, and hopefully I can play with you, and I do mean chess. Thanks. But in other sports news, my alma mater, the University of Arizona, won, and they beat Oregon, which is Chip Kelly's former team, and also Nick Foles, who played for Arizona. And I watched the game, and I did my best to live the dream by being something like Rico from Napoleon Dynamite, throwing a football to my couch as I watched the game, living my dream and knowing that I owe a bookie $30,000. I was hoping I had the chance to win state and go back to 1996 when The Rock was in theaters. Not Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who is somebody who actually played football, but Nick Cage giving an arguably a Best Actor performance. I thought he won Best Actor, but I guess not, but for his role as Stanley Goodspeed. And he gave great lines like, "I just want to find some rockets." Gave a little face, you know. But Arizona did win the game 31-24. And in other news, yes, I hope to have to leave. I did get a tent, and I do owe $30,000. So my predictions for next week are hopefully I'll be alive, but it's not looking good. Back to you, Dan.
Thanks, Rob. As bad as I feel for Rob, I'm actually $30 in the black because I call him up every week and say, what are you betting on, Rob? And then I bet the other side. I'm only serious. Well, local news. Mayor Nutter Butter's grand plan to save the school system has been enacted. That's right, folks. It now costs you $2 more per pack of cigarettes in Philadelphia to help support the schools. Now, why don't they just do something better and drop the legal age for smoking back to 16? I mean, at 16, these little bastards are allowed to get a license and put all our lives at risk. So why not allow them to buy a pack of cigarettes where they're only putting their own life at risk? That's my question, Mr. Mayor Nutter Butter Peanut Butter. But it's okay for me because I live out here in the burbs, even though I work in the city. So I can buy my cigarettes for the normal price without paying the extra tax. I feel bad for the poor people in the city who can't get out unless they take a bus, which by the time they get back, they should have just paid the fucking tax and bought the cigarettes there. But with all that going on, what are we going to do here in Philadelphia? It is what it is, right? Always taking from the poor and giving it to the rich. But I, for one, am pushing for that new vote. And get a referendum started. Let the smoking age be 16. Hell, drop it to 12. Some of them kids might never make it to the end of school, thus eliminating more problems. The next up for us, giving us his gaming reviews for this week, is our very own John Rice. Ricey?